Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq, back with our annual Singapore Fintech Festival coverage. Organized by the Monetary Authority of Singapore, the Singapore Fintech Fest is on its 6th edition. We're proud to be a media partner for the 4th year in a row. Joining me for the segment is Rajeev Tummala. He's the Director of Digital and Data Market Services and Securities Services with HSBC Singapore to discuss transforming capital markets through building next-gen financial market infrastructure. Rajeev, it's great to see you again. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Thank you for having me, Jill. Great to be here.
HSBC has been working with SGX and Temasek to explore how smart contracts and DLT can be used to enhance efficiencies in the bond issuance process. Give us some background on Project Hash, the partnership with SGX and Temasek, which has since been formalized as Market Node.
Yeah. So as a background, right, can DLT be used in traditional market infrastructure for supporting traditional securities? What kind of efficiencies do you get? And can the old and the new coexist together? If they coexist together, how do they interoperate? So these were some of the questions that we wanted to answer and embarked on Project Hash about a couple of years ago. And last year was a pivotal year in that journey, because we then started to actually use the platform to run some issuances through on that particular platform for fixed income securities. And for all the questions that I had said, the answers was yes, it was possible to increase efficiencies in the traditional security space. It was possible that the old and the new can coexist. So all those things once answered, SGX and Temasek, of course, have now formalized the relationship to create a commercial entity called Market Node to purely focus on digitizing and creating a next generation market infrastructure using blockchain, smart contracts.
What are the challenges of scaling up digital asset usage?
So when you start to look at digital assets usage, right? So there are two types, and today the market always thinks of crypto and everything that goes on with crypto as the only digital assets that are possible, but we should also look at migrating the traditional securities, the stocks and bonds that we know of, as also securities or assets that can be further digitized, right? So look at digital assets as simply more software to represent assets, using more software to represent assets. So some of the challenges, of course, are going to be in terms of regulatory clarity and bringing the multiple participants in the capital markets ecosystem together to coordinate, right? To coordinate and bring those asset networks and scale up the minimum viable ecosystems that you see in every jurisdiction, right? So every depository and every exchange are trying to do something, right? From DTCC in the US to SGX in Singapore that we're talking about, Australia Stock Exchange and Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Everyone's trying to sort of leverage the capability of the technology. Yeah, the challenges are always going to be coordination, regulatory collaboration, and clarity.
How do you define success of this project then?
So the success of this project was to prove that efficiencies exist and the old and the new can coexist, and you can start on a migration path. And I think the project has demonstrated that interoperability is key, and hence you have to take the participants on a journey, and hence the old and the new have to coexist together. And that was sort of proven. And the proof is in the pudding, right? So Temasek and SGX have now created a commercial entity to completely focus on scaling up this particular project. And of course, HSBC has signed up as one of the participants. We have a strategic MOU with them to continue to collaborate and develop the market infrastructure and participate in it.
And how else can digital assets be used?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question, right? So right now we are all focused on simply representing assets in a different form, and it is a natural progression of how things move, right? So there's always a better way of doing things. We had assets on paper, then we had dematerialized assets, which are simply asset record in a database, and now you have smart programmable assets. But how else can digital assets be used is once you start composing these digital assets into portfolios, you have a certain amount of innovation that is possible. Do you really need the existing fund structure that acts as a portfolio of assets? Or can you actually use smart contracts and a collection of these digital assets as a personalized financial advice to Jill and Rajeev? And that's where I think the next wave of innovation is going to come from. The next wave of innovation is going to be on top of the digital assets, right? So how do you collect these? How do you service them? How do you administer those collection of digital assets? That's where the innovation is going to come through. And of course, right, so the accessibility for these kind of products is going to be lower. A lot more personalized advice can be given. Again, we're talking about probably 3 to 5 years from now, but that's where I see the possibilities.
All right, Rajeev, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you, Jill.